We're going to continue our tour through classical Asian empires today with a look at what was going on in India. We've previously already seen the Persian Empire grow strong and large on its policies of tolerance, with its bureaucracy, its focus on building infrastructure so that people throughout the empire could communicate, they could move their army around, and by standardizing coins, language weights, measures to the greatest extent possible. We've also already looked at the Han Dynasty in China, where centralized rule by the emperor, who claimed legitimacy based on the mandate of heaven, led to a really long period of stability in East Asia. The Han Dynasty was also strengthened by its unique system of choosing its bureaucrats. It was a meritocratic bureaucracy. So remember, to merit something means to earn it. A meritocracy is a society in which you earn your place in society. And in this case, we're talking about taking exams to earn your spot as a scholar bureaucrat under the Han Dynasty. This meritocratic system and its secular ideology, Confucianism, with its central idea of filial piety, meaning respecting and obeying your elders and your superiors, led to a flowering of culture and invention that we looked at last week with the Han Dynasty. Today we are going to jump to the year 320 BCE and look at the Mauryan Empire in India, which also experienced a golden age of a different sort. So as a reminder, India is in the region of South Asia, nestled away behind the Himalayas from the rest of the continent. And it is a place where in ancient river valley civilizations, Hinduism developed. Hinduism, as we learned in Unit 2, is an ancient polytheistic religion that still has tremendous influence in the Indian subcontinent. It's an ethnic religion, meaning it doesn't seek out converts. And the key ideas of Hinduism included this interplay between caste and karma and social class and reincarnation. Hindus believe that people are born, they die, they are reborn into different bodies, different lives, and different social classes or castes based on their karma from a previous life. So how they behaved in a previous life. Today, I'm bringing up Hinduism because we're going to learn about the rise and spread of that second religion that deeply influenced Asia, Buddhism. As we learned in Unit 2, Buddhism was a universalizing religion, meaning it does actively seek converts. And it arose out of Hinduism and in reaction to Hinduism. For more on these two religions, you can go back and look at our Unit 2 videos on Hinduism and Buddhism. Today we're going to be looking at the more historical story, not so much of what Buddhists believe, but about how Buddhism exactly took root and spread and became an influential world religion. A world religion that produces beautiful temples, by the way. So, just as a refresher, we can compare and contrast a little bit between these two religions that have huge sway over South and East Asia. Hinduism, as we said, it's an ancient religion. It's polytheistic, so they believe in many gods. And Hindus believe that people reach enlightenment by being reborn with good karma in each lifetime. So you have to reincarnate many times before you can actually reach enlightenment. Not only do they believe in reincarnation, but reincarnation into a specific caste or class based on your karma from your past life, which creates an incredibly rigid social hierarchy because you literally can't move up in caste until you die and are reborn, and only if you had good enough karma. Caste then in Hindu societies are they're sort of an outer reflection of inner purity. If you have bad karma in your previous life, you are at low caste. Buddhism, on the other hand, Buddhism for many isn't even a religion. For many, it's a philosophy that doesn't necessarily believe in God. Buddhists believed that changes in thought process and lifestyles brought enlightenment, not one's case, meaning that anybody can achieve enlightenment in this lifetime by following the Eightfold Path, by focusing on their behavior. Buddhism is a universalizing religion, so it gained converts initially by appealing to poor and low-caste Hindus, because for them it must have been great news that you can achieve enlightenment even if you're all the way at the bottom of the caste. Also, unlike Hinduism, Buddhism eventually diffused along trade routes over the Himalayas and into Southeast and East Asia. So Hinduism did not diffuse, Buddhism did. They both have in common that they originated in India. Both of these religions are focused on the ultimate goal of achieving enlightenment, and both have had tremendous influence on South Asia and continue to do so. So today we're going to look at the Mauryan Empire, which is notable because it was the empire of imperial Buddhism, meaning the emperor adopted Buddhism, made it the state ideology. It didn't last very long. Hinduism would make a comeback in the next Indian empire we're going to look at, the Gupta. But during the Mauryan Empire, Buddhism really took hold in a way that allowed it to spread eventually into Eastern Asia, where it actually had a much bigger impact than its country of origin, its land of origin in India. As a reminder, South Asia, I use the word India a lot because it is kind of the linchpin of the story for now, but South Asia includes a number of extra states, as you can see on the slides. So today we're focused on the Mauryan Empire and the diffusion of Buddhism, both of these stories at the same time because they're so closely related. So a little background. South Asia, this region, was united by a common culture and religion long before it was politically united. That means that the people who were living in this territory were unified by a common practice of Hinduism. And that existed a long time before there was any one state that took control over the whole territory. Hinduism actually starts before we have historical records. It's a really, really, really old religion. So many, many years pass. And now in the classical period, we get to Buddhism. Buddhism was founded in India by Siddhartha Gautama, a former Hindu who rejected Hinduism's rigid caste system. As we saw in Unit 2, the Buddha was very interested in this problem of suffering and how to escape a cycle of suffering. And he saw just the cruelty of the system where you can't escape your class, and nothing you did in this lifetime may have caused you to be in low caste, but you're looked down upon anyway. Instead, the Buddha believed that changes in the way you think and the way you live could bring enlightenment in this lifetime, not your caste. The Buddha lived a really, really long time. He spread his religion as best he could during that period, but after his death, it took off in a couple of ways. First, it spread in India and South Asia for a few reasons. First was monastic organization, meaning monks existed to teach people about this religion, about this way of thinking. Second, it had a universal appeal, meaning it was open to converts, it was open to anybody, and it was especially appealing to the poor and the lower caste. It gave them a source of hope and a sense of control over their lives. It became the official state religion, however, when the Mauryan Empire emperor converted, and then it spread with the borders of that empire in India. This new religion, as most new religions do, caused some conflict in its land of origin, where a different religious tradition had held sway for a really long time. After the Buddha's death, Buddhists faced oppression from Hindus who saw it as a threat to the basic social and religious structures that had held India together up to that point. So Buddhism was not guaranteed to survive and become an influential world religion. And in fact, it's possible that the thing that saved it was the conversion of this emperor under the Mauryan Empire. The Mauryan Empire was the first empire to politically unite South Asia, meaning control all of the land under the power of one ruler in one state, which is a notable achievement on its own. But it became even more notable when it adopted Buddhism as its ruling ideology. As we'll see in the next lesson, it was followed by a different empire called the Gupta Empire, which made Hinduism the official religion again. For now, we're sticking with the Buddhist story. Having an empire adopt a religion almost always helps it spread. For one thing, it adds prestige to the religion. If the emperor practices this, we must too. For another thing, as the borders of the empire spread, so too does that one ideology or religion. So initially, in the short term, this conversion of the emperor allowed Buddhism to survive in South Asia. But then it spread. Buddhism diffused over the Himalayas and into East Asia, primarily along trade routes. Trade is always a giant conduit of ideas. So the Silk Road trade route specifically moved Buddhism from its land of origin to influence totally different societies in East Asia, like China, Tibet, Korea, Japan. Also, Buddhism may have been more successful actually in the areas where it diffused than in its land of origin in India. But we need to keep in mind too that as religions spread, they tend to change. This leads to a different shift, or an interesting shift, in Buddhist thought itself. Originally, Buddhism was a rare exception to this practice of patriarchy and hierarchy that existed pretty much everywhere else in the ancient world. It rejected the caste system on which social inequality was based and taught that both genders had equal access to enlightenment. As Buddhism spread, those egalitarian ideas fell away. Specifically in East Asia, Buddhism absorbed a lot of the cultural values of the land where it spread. This happens pretty typically when religions spread to very different cultures. And in China, as we saw, Confucianist philosophy held sway. Confucianism is an ideology that values hierarchy and that is very patriarchal. So patriarchy remained dominant even though Buddhism spread to those areas. One of the cooler things about Buddhism spread, however, is we get really neat buildings to look at. We also get different types of Buddhism because, like I said, when religions spread to different cultures, they change. They kind of map onto the cultural layout that exists to become something new. The story of the Mauryan Empire actually starts to end with the death of the emperor who adopted Buddhism, Ashoka. After his death, it just sort of fell apart. Costly salaries for soldiers and government officials ended up bankrupting the treasury, and so local rulers started to take control in smaller and smaller regions. The future leaders of the next dynasty we look at, the Gupta, came out of these small kingdoms a few centuries later, but that is a story for tomorrow.